So this video is going to be about the flats in Cleveland, Ohio. So this is Eric Barnes. This is the house that I grew up in at 4310 Bearwald Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. And we can get into the street view right here. Show you what that looked like. And this right here is looking east on my street. And this is my house right here, 4310 Bearwald Avenue. So this is looking back west. And the reason that I wanted to create this video is we look down the street here and we can see all the trees, and then see across the street. This house actually used to have two really big trees right in front of it. And it was a really nice kind of dark brown sort of color. Then they put that little kind of vinyl siding on it. Doesn't quite look as nice. But anyway, the reason I'm making this video is because the flats actually play a very large role in a scene in my novel, in the Gothic Rainbow. And I was creating this video on October 19th of 2012, and I discovered that in 2010, most of the flats were actually destroyed. They were all razed. So this is the flats right over here. And it was basically an area of Cleveland that for about 15 years was kind of a pretty happening sort of place. These are all old like warehouses and things like that, and a lot of them were all converted into nightclubs and bars and things of that nature. So as we scroll down here, Old River Road, this used to actually go all the way through right here. Even on the map you can see it's already gone. But there are some street view images here in Google that still maintain the old street view of what it looked like. So here we can see on the map this is what some of the buildings were like, and then down this way there are yet even more clubs. So basically all of Old River Road was just lined with nightclubs. And if we go to the satellite view, we can see that right here some clubs still remain, such as this one. It's called Earth. And that one back in, say, like 1992, 1993, this club was called the Odeon. And I actually shot some of my music videos at the Odeon. And right here, as you can see, this is all that remains now of the flats. So there's still some, you know, restaurants and things here. You can see here how they got these like patios out back and a few different establishments, and so people can come out here and eat and drink, and they're right along the river. Well, it used to be like this all the way down this coastline right here. So this used to be filled with even more clubs, and there was even a club right here on the corner. And so that's kind of what we're going to go over here. And this right here, Front Avenue, you can see is still there. And Old River Road connected right here with Front, and it came all the way down this way and connected right here where Main Avenue joins up with it. So that's basically what this video is all about. And now we can go over what some of that stuff looked like. Oh, and by the way, see these two sort of ponds over here? And like this, I don't even know what the heck this is. This was all a parking lot. And now it's some kind of weird pond. So yeah, this whole section back here was a parking lot. And the other thing that I should note is this subway line. You can see the train tracks coming through here. See how they come all the way over this way, and you know, it's actually pretty nice. There's a really nice station right here, and they circle back up this way, and they actually go towards downtown and Public Square. And then these tracks come along here. Well, back in like the 1980s, say when I was about maybe 15 years old, 16 years old, my friends and I, we would come down here. We weren't old enough to get in any clubs, but we would come just to hang out, and none of this existed. There actually, the road, Old River Road, used to actually go along right here along the shoreway. and they completely tore the road out. And you can see right here this cul-de-sac that the road actually used to go down here. They tore it out. They put in this subway because the flats were so popular. And they put in that station over there. There's a station right here. So the idea was that people could take the subway down. Instead of drinking and driving, they could hop on the subway, come down to the flats, enjoy themselves, and hop back on the train. So this whole track that comes all the way around here and all up through here, this was built in like the 1990's, and comes all the way around this way, and it goes back up to the stadium. So this didn't exist at all in the 80's, and of course now it's already obsolete because nobody uses it. Nobody comes down here. There's no clubs anymore. So now we'll go over what it sort of used to look like. This is an old picture of what the flats were like when they were kind of jumping and happening. So as you can see, tons of people, all kinds of boats on the river, and it actually looked really cool down there. They would light up all the bridges, and it was pretty amazing. So I realized that when I say, oh, the flats were really cool, it's hard to picture what it was like. So here's, a very few pictures that I found that kind of show you a little bit of what the nightlife was like down in the flats. It was pretty awesome. This shot right here is looking down Old River Road. All the stuff that you see on the right-hand side will now be missing when we go down this street. The stuff on the left is like Peabody's and things like that. This is shot from the river, from the Good Time 2. This is the back side of the beach club after everything was sort of abandoned and before things were torn down. This is the backside of another club that's right next to it. Unfortunately, I couldn't find pictures of when all these things were happening. This club here, this restaurant was still up and running, so you can kind of see what it was like with the boats out there and the patio where people would eat underneath the blankets, or the umbrellas rather. Now this Dick's Last Resort was a pretty cool restaurant. We got about 3 shots of it right here. And that's when it was kind of happening. This is when it was all abandoned and fallen apart. But basically the waiters and waitresses at Dick's Last Resort were allowed to insult the customers. And they were very sarcastic and very biting, and they were dicks. So it was kind of funny, sort of a neat little theme. Here, again, more clubs on the East Bank. You can see how nice it was with the trees and the boardwalk out there, and all this stuff is ripped out and torn down. Fagan's was located right on the corner of Front Street and Old River Road, and they changed their name to Spinnaker's, and you can see here the Fagan sign turned into Spinnaker's as Spinnaker's was being demolished. And then the next shot is... that is the Watermark Restaurant, and over on the right-hand side you can see the Odeon nightclub. I mentioned that I shot video at the Odeon, and then we have another shot right here. You can see the Odeon right there, about the center of the frame with the blue, white, and red sign. And then finally, here is another shot of Watermark, sadly, when it's all abandoned and falling apart and has boarded up windows. So that's some images of what things looked like. Basically, we're going to start in this corner right here. Now, as you can see, Front Avenue, if we zoom in even closer, Front Avenue is no longer really a street. There's no nothing. It's just dirt on either side. There's just all this construction stuff that's sitting around. And, it's just an abandoned, kind of desolate area of Cleveland. And as you come up this way, you go underneath the subway bridge, and then right here is West 10th. As you can see, geez, you can't even distinguish the streets anymore. It's just all dirt. It's just all dirt and debris and junk, and it's really not even a road. West 10th isn't really even a street anymore either. So let's zoom back out. Now, these two streets that I'm just pointing out, this right here, Front Avenue and West 10th, if you look at the street view in Google, they are still the old images before everything was torn out. Now, the Google street images basically have everything intact except for a number of buildings that were right here. There were a few that were already torn out, so unfortunately we don't have any way to show you what those looked like. But see, once we drag the street view over here, you can see the blue lines indicating where street view images are. So of course the street view still exists, even though the street right there for Old River Road is no longer there. So once I release the mouse button, we switch to the street view, and you'll see that pile of dirt that's right there. That is this. So Spinnaker's was the club that was right there on that corner. And if I pan back to the right, you see there's a big parking lot here, and you see there's these nice little kind of street lamps, and there's trees lining both sides of the road. So this is what Front Avenue used to look like before it became a desolate thing of dirt. And this right here is the building that was on the corner, and here is that sharp corner where Front Avenue connects with Old River Road. Now this right here, this used to be more buildings and more clubs and stuff, but like I said, those are kind of all torn out already when they shot this street view stuff. So let's go way down here, and we'll zoom up the street and see what things look like. So again, you can see there's just trees on either side. We've got a big parking lot here, which is obviously, even when this was taken, is all kind of hasn't been used in a long time, sort of fallen apart, and a lot of grass and weeds growing in between the cracks in the parking lot. And then on this side, we still have all these buildings that are intact, and the parking lot here, you can see was pretty big, and this is the back side of a lot of the buildings that were there along Old River Road. You can see right there is the old gate that led to the big parking lot. And up here is the subway bridge that I had mentioned earlier. Remember I said this, pointing out the fact that this was all dirt and you couldn't really even tell where the streets were at. So right here is the old parking lot still. It was a very large parking lot, obviously. And we zoom up further and further. I just want to get up to the intersection right here. So here we go. So here's the intersection of Front Avenue and West 10th. As you can see, very clear, very vivid intersection. And we have trees all over the place. Trees are all around. And here's the back side of the subway line. And now if I zoom out, you'll see the desolation that's left. So that right there is what we were just looking at. So here's where all the trees were at. Here's the back side of that subway line. So once again, we zoom back in, and we'll go down 10th now. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go down 10th Street. There we got the subway on the side. And let's turn back to the right here so we can see this is the other side, of the parking lot. And of course there's all the buildings and nightclubs that are still intact. And then as we come up here, there's a street called Main. And this is where things get really kind of weird, because the footage from Main Street is actually new footage. So there you go. There is everything torn out, no longer existing. All the buildings are ripped out, and the street is no longer there. Or the buildings are no longer there, rather. And here, of course, again, is West 10th. So watch, if I go back to this point on West 10th and come back, this is the old imagery, and you can see the buildings are still intact. You can also tell that the graphics here are not as vivid. They're not as high resolution. They're a little bit more blurry. So that's why, because this right here is also, you can see that this is the newer imagery. It's a lot clearer and crisper and sharper. So we'll come down here to the end of Main Avenue. And there you go again. You can see there's just absolutely nothing left. Complete desolation. This is most of what Cleveland is like. They get rid of anything that's cool and good and turn it into a wasteland. That's Cleveland for you. So this right here, there used to be, I believe Hooters was right here. It sort of went underneath the bridge, and that club was there, that restaurant rather, Hooters was there, and then, as I said, there was stuff that continued on down the road as well. So let's look at what the old images of Old River Road actually looked like. So finally, this is a little time travel here, trip into the past. So we're looking north on Old River Road, and if I just click right here, suddenly there we are. This is what it used to look like before everything was torn down. So this right here to the right is this really huge parking lot. You can see the lights, and they went wrapped all the way around the back, and then this building here, of course, that building's gone. And if we come around this way, we can actually see this right here was Hooters, the restaurant, and that extended right here all the way underneath the bridge, and basically up to here is where all this stuff was all torn out and no longer exists. So let's come back this way. Now, I mentioned that there's a scene in my novel that takes place down here in the flats, and it actually takes place right here. That scene takes place along this part of the road. Now, all of this that you see right here that's all torn out, this used to be more nightclubs and restaurants and bars just like on this side. So both sides of the street had big warehouses like this. Now, I didn't really go to anything that was on this side, so I don't remember some of the stuff that was there, but the other side had some good times in some of these places. This building right here, this had a club in it called the Boiler Room, and you would enter right there at that door, and it was like 2 levels. So there was a dance floor down the bottom, and then there's up on top, you could actually overlook the dance floor, and there was a bar up there, and there was a couple of bars downstairs, and I didn't go there a whole lot. Just it only existed for like a couple of months, and they played like industrial stuff and kind of new wave stuff, and it was a pretty cool dance club. And then down this way, let's see, I never went into any of these right here, but this club right here where it says Earth, this one actually used to be called Peabody's Down Under, and I went to this club many times and saw a lot of really great shows there. I saw my first Henry Rollins spoken word show I saw at Earth. I saw Killing Joke there. Tori Amos played there. Gosh, even one of my friends in a local band, their band Thumper Incorporated played there. I also saw the German band Die Krupp. They played there as well. And here's some remnants of some steps that went up to, another, like I said, restaurant and club and bar that was there. This building that you see here on the other side of the river, that is called Shooters. And you can come back this way. So that club is still there. That's Shooters on the Water. And Tori Amos actually played a show there as well, and I saw her play that show. So this whole section, like I said, plays a really big part in my novel, because there's a scene where the vampires sort of attack a bunch of people down in the flats, and this is where that attack happens, because this was one of the really, jumping, happening places, and it was filled with people, on any given night, especially on the weekends. Like I said, there was restaurants and stuff over on this side, so both sides of the street would be filled with people just walking around. And right down here, there's a strip club. It's called Larry Flint's Hustler Club. You can see right there. But back in like the mid 1990s and before that even, it was called the Circus, and there was a girl who was a dancer there at the circus that I dated for a little while. And down here, once again, just more clubs, and we zoom up here, and here again is that Spinnaker's, and of course if we zoom back out, we see that there is absolutely nothing left. That pile of dirt right there is where Spinnaker's was at. And so right about here is where the Circus strip club was at. Right about here is where Peabody's was located. So as you can see, nothing remains. All of it's gone. So that's basically all I wanted to show for this video, to sort of, like I said, capture some of that street view footage of what was sort of left. Even though all those buildings here were still torn out, at least you get to see some of what it was like, and some of the location wherein a big major scene in my novel, The Gothic Rainbow, actually took place in a place that no longer exists. So, yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this little trip down amnesia lane, as Professor Keating said in Dead Poets Society. Alright, that's it. Little video on the flats.